let's make some Scrapwood Christmas trees. Super simple to make. People love these, sell really well at markets. Great gifts as well for family and friends. So I've made these out of really rough raw lumber. These were old spruce fence posts and rails, and you can see they scrub up pretty well, but this is really messy work. I like to trim these down to about 4 centimeter by 2 centimeter strips. That's about 1.5 by 3/4 inches. Here we have some finished strips ready to go. Again, fairly rustic, fairly rough, but that's what these kind of trees are. They don't need to be too perfect. So these trees have a couple of sections: top, middle, lower branches, the base and the foot, and everything is a 30-degree cut. So take some of the strips that you've prepped and take off one of the rough ends, and that'll give you your first 30-degree cut. Now the cool thing about these little trees are every cut is 30 degrees except for a miter on top, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. And you just cut, rotate the stick, cut, rotate. For the top branches, measure about 25 centimeters or 10 inches. The actual length isn't all that critical, but do use a stop block to make these top branches the same length. So the actual length isn't important, but consistency is pretty important. So set your stop block and make your cut. Now remember, this 30-degree cut is the opposite direction to the previous one, so this piece of wood has been rotated around. So chop through and then put one of these top branches aside. And now take the board and rotate it around, slide it to the stop block, and make the next cut. So again, you know, with the stop block, you're not measuring anything, you're getting nice consistent cuts, and it's just throughout this whole process really cut, rotate, to give you the right angles on each of the parts of the Christmas tree. So here we have the top 2 branches consistent or same as each other and ready to be assembled. So for the next piece, these are the middle branches. These are going to be cut to around 15 centimeters or 6 inches. Again, doesn't need to be exact. Just get your stop block in place, clamp it in and cut. Again, this piece of wood has been rotated to give us a 30-degree cut going in the opposite direction. So again, cut, put the piece aside, take your board, rotate it around, and then cut it again. Couldn't be much simpler. So now we've cut the top 2 branches the same length, the middle 2 branches the same length, and here we have them side by side. So for the lower branches, we're going to set the stop block to around 10 centimeters or 4 inches. A little tip here is to use whatever length we're cutting this lower branch, use this as the foot of the tree also. So instead of cutting these just 2 times, we can cut them 3 times, and that will give us the 2 lower branches plus the foot. So set up the stop block, cut the first one. Remember, the angles are going in the opposite directions, both ends. Choppy number 1, put it aside, give it a little rotate, slide it up to your stop block. Chop number 2. So that's your 2 lower branches ready to go. And now rotate it again, and this is going to be the foot of your little tree. So pretty easy. Chop, rotate every time. Now we have top, middle, bottom branches plus the foot of our tree. This piece is something that most folks don't actually do when they're making these little trees, which is putting a miter cut on the top. I think this gives the tree a sharper, more professional look, but to do this we need to put a 60-degree cut on the top. Now most miter saws max out at 45 or 50 degrees, so how do we get a 60-degree cut on our top branches? So a little bit of maths time here. When you set your miter saw to 0, you're actually setting it to cut a piece of wood at 90 degrees. So you're cutting across a piece of wood. So the zero setting is really 0 degrees from 90. So to get a 60-degree cut, we take a piece of scrap that we've put a 30-degree cut on. You set the miter saw at 0, which is really 90. So 90 minus 30 equals 60. Pretty simple, right? So anyway, you put a miter on the top branches, the top point of the top branches. Okay, so here we have all of our branches cut and the top ones mitered, ready to go. So let's have a quick dry fit. Lay these bad boys out and eyeball it to make sure that it all makes sense. It's pretty easy the first couple of times you do this to cut some of the angles in the wrong direction. Maybe put the miters on the wrong direction or put the miters on the wrong branches. So definitely a good idea to lay these out and to get a sense if everything still makes sense. Now the last piece to cut is the bottom of the whole tree that the foot attaches to. So with your pieces dry laid out, just mark up your bottom piece to fit inside the tree. You can also put the tree on top of this, and that's totally cool too, but for this design I like to put the base inside the tree, and that makes the lower branches of the tree look like they're overhanging. I think it's kind of nicer on these to see a little bit less of the end grain. You don't want to see too much of that. So you can see with this dry fit, it fits just inside the tree, and then you can stick the little foot on it. So now you've got it dry fitted, all makes sense. So it's time to bring these over to wherever you sand. So what I have here is a belt sander, 80 or 100 grit. I'm happy for these to be pretty rustic and pretty rough. You might want to really sand the heck out of them and make it all really super smooth, but for this project, yeah, just to 80 or 100 grit is fine. So I like to sand the end pieces, sand off any loose little splintery bits. Do be careful, I think, not to round over the edges too much, as that can make it look a bit gappy when it's all assembled and put together. So yeah, every side, all splinters, and that's really it on the sanding side of things. Right, so dry fit time again. And what we have here is maybe the world's smallest and simplest jig. So what I wanted to do is ensure that I've got about 3 centimeters or 1 inch overlap on all of the branches. So I've made a simple jig to keep that consistent. You can use glue, nails, or both. I've started off using Ryobi gear for all of my woodworking. Kind of moved away from Ryobi, as mostly a bit underpowered, but I think this 18 gauge nail gun is okay. Oh yeah, please click subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps this channel. So I'm taking the lower branch here, setting it up on the jig to ensure I've got consistent overlap, and using one of the offcuts to support that while I nail it together. Again, you could use glue for this, but nails work pretty well. So do both of the lower to middle branches here at the same time. Pull them together, place them on an offcut. Needs to be fairly straight, but not perfect. Again, rustic and rough, name of the game here. So now we have the lower and middle branches consistent. And now we're going to attach the middle branches to the upper branches. Again, it's good to kind of take a break, dry fit these, make sure you've got all the angles right. So again, take an offcut to support this, and these offcuts are from the same pieces of wood, so they're the same height, which keeps everything nice and level. So now you've got one side done, and now for its twin. You can see me fumbling around here. It's always easy to get these wrong, so take your time and make sure everything makes sense before you start pinning things together. I have pinned the wrong pieces of wood together many times. So now you have 2 of the side pieces ready to go. Whilst you're doing this, you might as well pin the foot to the base of the tree. My Ryobi gun kind of jamming on me a bit here, so maybe not that great. So now probably, you know, the first of the fiddly bits is attaching the two miters together. So get a nice angle, keep your fingers safe. I've done this a lot of times, so I know how this gun shoots. So I like to put in 2 pins on each side. If you're using glue, you could maybe use a bit less, maybe even no nails, but that's up to you and the glue that you use. So I've got the 2 top bits mitered together, and now it's time to slot the base, which already has the foot on it, in. So this should be just above the bottom of the branches. If you've cut this piece too short, no need to panic. You can just actually stick an extra foot onto the bottom of this tree. That actually does look nice, and it could be a design feature. So, you know, feature, not a bug. So here's the finished product. Again, 30 degrees all around with a 60 on top to give you a nice sharp miter. You can make quite a few of these in a day, maybe 30 to 50 of these in a day. Get those miters nice and sharp at the top. It's a pretty forgiving design. We sell out of these at every market fair we go to. We've had customers putting in extra orders for more. We like to spray them up in a couple of different colors and gift them to family and friends. So yeah, really successful little product. So definitely have a go at making these. Maybe gift them to family and friends first. Please do post up some photos. We would love to see how you get on making these. And also hit subscribe. It really helps this little channel. Bye!